Hello. Hello, everyone. Hey, Mike. You don't want to get married. Neither do I. Let me know if you can hear and see me. It looks like I can hear my audio levels. And I can see myself. Hope everyone's all right. All right. While you guys get your questions ready, I'll read out a couple centered around not the last video, but the previous one, previous few, namely about how I don't think women really care that much about being understood. They mainly care about being noticed and seen. There was a question by Tom G. If you try to understand her and ask her what's wrong, she won't tell you. So 100% she doesn't want to be understood. Again, that's a cliche most of us have heard over and over again. You're trying to work out the problem, that is, understand it to help, and she just doesn't want it. She just wants you to listen. It's a hard thing because in any other company, men, society, in any other context, a man relishes the opportunity to try and help, to fix things, to work things out, to understand a problem. It's not that he wants to dominate it. He actually wants to help. He has an interest in working things out. It's why we're interested in abstract things. It's why we're interested in science, in working things out away from ourselves, of things other than ourselves. So it's a pretty true statement. Hey, Red Pill Mentor. Thanks for stopping in. What time is it there, by the way? I was speaking to Red Pill just before I went to bed some hours ago. He's still up. And Tax Shooter said, I've seen so many couples pictures where the woman is looking at the camera and the man is looking at the woman. I've noticed this a lot too. I've actually looked back on some of my old photos, not recently, but I remember in the past, of girlfriends when we're in the shot. And there's a lot of times I'm either looking straight at I'm looking either at her, I'm just sort of relaxed, but she's very aware of the camera. She's always looking at the camera, very rarely at me. But there are so many photos where I'm looking at her and she's looking directly at the camera. She doesn't care about me. She cares about how she looks. And he says, I figured they were sending a message to their pimp daddy handler, but this might also explain it. They just want the moment to be about them. Yeah. I think they're very aware of themselves. They're a lot more self-conscious than men are. Men are self-conscious around women, but generally women are always self-conscious as a default, much more than men are, I think. He continues, I don't think this is all. Women, some seem to have learned how to exist as an equal. Yeah, not all, but very, very many. Michael asks, I think that compassion is innate to women, but empathy is not. Interesting. For those unable to sort of form a distinction, compassion is the ability to, I suppose it's kind of like sympathy. Empathy is being able to place yourself in the shoes of somebody else and see from their perspective. Women find it hard to do that. Now let me put my ISO up. If empathy is non-existent biologically for women, then does compassion just become virtue signaling at best? That's a good point, actually. Whether women, the way they signal compassion and caring is simply some sort of virtue signaling to sort of do the right thing. rather than a natural feeling. If it's not about themselves and their children, immediate thing that's connected to them or is them, is everything else a social signaling thing where they know how to act, they know where they should lean in, but not necessarily that it's a genuine thing to sort of self-sacrifice, to empathize and so forth. It's a good question. Hey, Boffin. Okay, so Mike says he can't hear me or see me. Is this correct? I can see myself, I can hear my audio levels, and no one else seems to be saying anything. So it may be a problem with you, Mike. Yeah, it seems to be a problem on your end, Mike. I'm not sure what it is. All of us can sort of see and hear fine. Anyway. Arrowway2357 says, it's never ceased to amaze me how big of a deal adult women can make of their own birthdays. This I found very similarly. I found this really, really interesting. I don't give a flying about my birthday as an adult. I don't care about presents. I don't know the big deal, but women love surprises and presents. There's this kind of childish attitude about gifts and being made to feel special like a child that simply doesn't leave. And it's framed in a way to kind of say, well, it's a nice gesture to remember somebody's birthday, to not forget them. And that's true. But I think more or less it's an excuse because there's a lot of extravagance behind it. So for me, I like birthdays so I can get together with the person. And at the most say happy birthday and have a drink or a meal, especially as I've gotten older. I enjoy birthdays if it's with members of my family, the fact that we can get together for dinner. That's it. The good thing is we've actually stopped birthday presents some years ago. We all collectively agreed we only buy presents for the kids, for people's children, nephews, nieces, but we don't buy presents for the adults anymore. And I'm glad we did that. I was always pushing for it. And I think that as everyone else got older, they got tired of it as well. Because it's kind of, you don't know what to buy. An adult, they can buy whatever they want themselves. And they generally have everything they need. By this point, it's just throwing money away. But yeah, that aspect of, what was it? Yeah, adult women making such a big deal of their own birthdays. Even big deals of birthdays in general. It's nice to kind of acknowledge, but of themselves. What about my birthday? Where's my present? You forgot my birthday? I suppose it's a little disappointing if someone forgets your birthday, but if it's innocent, I have a habit of not intentionally forgetting dates and those kind of things. But it's not just other people, it's myself too. I need to write things down in my diary for me to remember, even if they're for me. If I'm looking forward to catching up with a friend or doing something, if I try and remember it, a lot of the time I forget. And it was always that way ever since I was young too. I don't know if my mind sort of just flies off in a million directions and is interested in a bit too much and I get carried away, but won't focus. Remember, guys, if you want to ask questions, highlight them so I can see them in the stream. Otherwise, if I skim through, I may miss them, so I'm not doing it intentionally. Professor Doc, Human, what is your investment philosophy in terms of finances? I'm just sensible. I don't spend beyond my means, and I always try and save a little bit. I'm just kind of sensible about things. I'm not neurotic about making myself suffer in an overcompensatory way, kind of. Now, you know, a lot of guys kind of, they kill themselves in jobs they don't like, or they suspend their lives until the time at which they want to retire in the future, and then they'll start living. I've never personally myself seen the sense in that. I do agree with being sensible, because, you know, no one's going to come to save you as a guy. Investment in women, that's a broader question in terms of how much you do and what you find valuable. Smoke says, I forgot my own birthday once. I think I've done that once or twice, and it's taken a few hours or someone to call me first thing in the morning to wish me a happy birthday, and I've already been up for a couple of hours and I forgot myself. The mic is kind of blown out. Okay. Let me put it down just a bit. I tried to maximize as much as I could without it clipping, only because a few people said it was too low, but I'm pretty sure it was on their end. I've lowered it a bit. This should be okay. If it's still a bit too loud or it's clipping, let me know, guys. How's that, smear beer? Ex-Matha said Sandman recently talked about deep changes in sexual relationships in recent generations. Is it possible us older guys can no longer relate to problems of young men? Yeah, the environment's changed a hell of a lot. So, you know, I could imagine how frustrated I would get in today's environment, but then again, I'd be shaped by it somehow, so I wouldn't be exactly the same person. But yeah, the young guys, Karu last night reminded me that, yeah, it's true that guys these days, we can talk about how Tinder and online culture and flipping women is bad, but for some men, there is no other not for some, for virtually all men now dating, there's no other option except for the flipping nature and the flicking of disposable partners. There's nothing else, and they've grown up with little else now. So you can look back to the good old days and try and imagine it and get frustrated, but your reality is pretty much what we have today. I had something different, and now I'm middle age. It's kind of like I've been there and done that. But I'm grateful for myself. I'm grateful that the luster has gone off dating just because of what it is now. Like, there's very little attractive to it. In terms of men, virtually sex is the only thing driving it. Previously, there was a little bit, and you could argue it was a fantasy, of finding a compatible semi-friend to spend a longer period of time with, or guys who wanted to get married. Now, the speed at which guys date and the disposable nature really, it's making us more into an animal way of relating, and not that civilized, where given men's and women's nature, men just want sexual variety, and that's what we have. And women just want to get together long enough with men to possibly get pregnant and then move on and monkey branch to the next guy. So dating today is touching on our more basic animal instincts, and we're just transient. Unfortunately, there was more permanency back in the past. Okay, you're saying that my audio is a tiny bit muffled. Okay, how's that? I've increased the top end just a little bit. Hopefully it's a little bit clearer. I just don't want too much detail in the high frequencies of my voice and you hear every little clicking of my mouth. Okay. Drew says, have you ever been with a woman who is obsessed with astrology? No, not after the first date. A woman who's obsessed with astrology, usually that sort of imbues a lot of her personality. It tells you a lot about her. If her center of seeing her world is directed from astrology, again, don't want to stereotype, but I think I'm pretty safe. That'll tell you a lot about her and her beliefs, if that's where it's centered from. Similarly, if someone's highly religious, you can kind of guess what their personality is going to be like, how black and white they're going to be, how open they're going to be to anything else, where they've actually anchored themselves to. And a lot of them, their personalities are really anchored to that, which is not always good, because when the world presents something, you can't actually talk to a human being that's relating to the situation and trying to judge what's in front of us. But if they're always looking to the stars or looking to Zeus, then Quasimandias question, how are you, brother man? People care. Hey, dude. I'm good. Yeah, lockdown. It's been nearly 6 weeks now. Look, I am, it's getting, I'm not frustrated. My lifestyle is less affected because I do spend a lot of time in my creative pursuits on my own. I mean, you've probably got more of the freedom of the variety of nature in front of you if you jump on your boat. I don't have that. I'm frustrated that I can't get out into the world because I can't leave my property, or I'm very limited in the ways I can, but generally I'm all right. I'm okay. If it continues for months and months, I might go stir crazy, but I think society will go stir crazy a lot faster and a lot more violently than I will. Thanks for asking, man. Benjamin, have you noticed certain topics are too taboo to discuss online when it comes to not dating? STDs, women arriving on dates just climbing off another guy, for example. Are some topics too taboo? Well, it's like anything. You don't want to dump a whole lot of things that seem kind of neurotic and insecure. You'd hope that you're calmly relating to a person just as another human being. And then if you find them interesting, then you can delve deeper. But I suppose it's how calmly you come across, men or women. But as I mentioned in a previous video, just if you want to talk about something, talk about it. Guys, I think, need to just learn how to speak intelligently and not nervously, and realize that they've got permission to speak about whatever they want, as long as it's civil and respectful. If a person doesn't want to talk about something, fine. But to censor yourself for the other person, to effectively go through life acting, so if in every scenario you're in, you're not really the you that you are when you're at home or in front of your best friend or the person or people you're closest to. You're always, effectively at a job interview with different people. I asked this question to someone last night on Discord in a chat, where they were talking about, with this friend, I can't talk about this with them, and women don't like it when you talk about this. And I said, I think a simple way to calibrate yourself is, are you able to talk the same way without censoring yourself, no matter who you're in front of? Because a lot of people are like, in front of this girl I really like, I put on this figurative suit to be the best version I can. And there's nothing wrong with being a really good person and refining yourself. But if you actually just adopt personas to accommodate and just be with somebody else, I don't think that's healthy. So if you can be just the standard you, the person you just freely want to be, without any kind of pretense, civil, respectful, and so forth, if you can do that more with every single person you're around without any fear, lessen that instinct, or the impulse to be at a job interview, whichever person you're in front of, in a sense, you're wanting validation and affection. The more you can do that, I think that's the best thing, rather than, biology, women, I'll get divorced, she's going to take advantage of me. I think the best calibrating factor is for you just to be yourself, speak well, speak openly, and that will start sorting things out, because from that point of confidence, it doesn't matter if it's a woman or a boss. You will know how to conduct yourself, because it's more from a I don't want to say authentic, because that word's been bastardized, but it's more from a genuine place, a calm and confident place, where you don't have to worry about, oh, okay, what suit do I need to put on now, nervously. Real name's not given. I have an experiment for tomorrow. Get proper sleep, be prepared for the day, role play the character in my head, get work done fast, not recklessly. I have 20 or 30 minutes before bed. That's just after everything I've said. Well, let me know how that goes, real name's not given. If it's an experiment to actually, in terms of your super ego, like finally doing what you're supposed to do, the big brother in your head, or the parental figure in your head, finally kind of getting you to do what you dearly want to do because you know you'll be happy with the results. I suppose it's a good thing to do. Let me know what the results of your experiment are. To the Paradise City of the Night Train says, we as men are taught to constantly develop ourselves, i.e. career, income, etc., to get a woman. But a woman can do whatever they want, i.e. having an off account, OF. I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, man must become, woman just is. And that's just biology, man. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. But through becoming is also a discovery that women don't get. So for yourself, that's the gift men have too. But in terms of relating to women, I agree. That's kind of unfair, but there's also things that men get that women don't. We also don't get periods. We also don't have to go through childbirth. So it's not... There are irritations with men, especially, look, when it comes to the sexual dance, the mating dance, men have to put in a lot more effort. But in terms of your own life, self-sufficiency, I think men have got the better card in the deck. Okay, people are saying the mic sounds like it's too close to my mouth. Okay. Let me know if that's all right. I'll put it a bit further away. Have you noticed that people today are increasingly self-referential? I almost daily find myself getting an essay on others' lives without them, in turn, asking me about myself. Yeah, I think it's become more and more, I don't want to say female-like, but the society is puppeteered and directed and serving female interests. So the whole script seems to be that, and the male view of life, or any kind of map, is not very male at all. And as such, we're learning more and more to adopt female traits. I think the worrying thing is that men always adopted the female way of doing things when it came to relating to them in terms of mating. And that's fine. Women control that. You ask her out, whatever she wants. So there's that care factor there. But when all of society is neurotically passive and worried about everything, and there's no courage, and there's no male voice, there's no mentoring, it's a very, very fragile place then. And as such, I think this self-referential point of view will increase when men start to adopt a female's way of thinking and viewing the world. So I think it's kind of worrying. I think anyway. Uh, there's another question. This was an interesting one by Prince Bumpkin. He says, why do we idealize ex-relationships? Because we can't remember anything else. That to me is a really, really interesting question. We kind of we romanticize what was, and it's not so much that. Was your idealization just in your head, and so it haunts you? I mean, when it's not working for you, when there's an incompatibility in a relationship, you can actually feel the tactility of that friction in front of you. When it's gone and you're free of it and you're glad you are because you no longer have it, you kind of you lobotomize yourself sometimes because you're wondering what happened. Was there nothing at all to begin with? But you haunt yourself simply because there was a primal attraction. I think that's an interesting existential question, but I don't think we should spend a lot of time driving ourselves crazy over it. Mr. Aussie accent, if society is favouring equality over achievement, where are all the high achievers going? Many people still want to get things done. They do, but there's the added thing where we are biological, and I think a vast majority of men, if there's no point to working hard, they won't. A lot of times, especially when you're young and you don't know yourself and you're the most fertile as a male and female, if you can get together and do your part for biology and the species, at least you've done that. But there's a lot of men that don't get driven unless it's subconsciously for the female, like saying, well, I don't know what I want to do and where I want to go, but you know, I'll get any job. And then he finds out he's actually got he's a person that likes to work hard and give his best. And he never would have known that without throwing himself in the direction which society and his parents and the past always expected of him. And then you can find yourself through just doing the routines of what society expects from you. It's like, oh, okay, I enjoy working hard, but now what I enjoy working on now is the question. So a lot of times I think that women help start men's engine, but what men find specifically important to them, I think there's some men that don't find it unless they're biologically driven in the first place. And so now the worrying thing is that if women and men are kind of going like this, and women are less attractive to men by the way they behave and their demands and the price of intimacy and the dangers, and men find alternate ways to spend their time and where their drives are, I think their interests and drives will start to change. A lot of drives may lessen if they're not like really big things. Like, I doubt you could have ever stopped a personality like Elon Musk, but for instance, you know, if the technology wasn't there, would we even have heard of Bill Gates? He might have been a successful businessman, but would he have had the effect on the world that he had? So I think biology can help some men. I think most men, because when you're young, that's one thing you do know, how you feel. You really want her. You're obsessed over women. All right, how do I kind of splash some cold water on my face? Even though I want women, okay, get a job, get a car, discipline myself. You know, even though I want to sleep with her, hold yourself back, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of character development in men through women. And without that going forward, I just find it a bit worrying. Not in terms of like, you know, supplicating yourself to women, but in terms of a man being or finding what his best can be by sort of, I don't know, throwing himself in the direction that he otherwise wouldn't have without the female impetus. The audio is still blown out. Is that right, guys? Okay. Stoic says it's fine. Let me know if it's still blown out. I'll lower it a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, I've just lowered it just a little bit. I've just had a few people saying they can't hear me, more than one, but the majority can. I just wanted to find a middle ground, but obviously I don't want it to be too loud for you guys. I don't think it was clipping, but it was getting a bit, I made the microphone a little bit too sensitive. Hopefully that's good. Okay, high frequencies are too sharp. Someone said I'm too muffled. Okay. I've lowered the high frequencies. How's that? Lodestar, I was basically indoctrinated into pair bond or nothing, or maybe it's just how my mind works. So any kind of relationships with modern women are a no-go for me. I've tried the alternative. Yeah. How we're raised combined, and also how we're raised also. Don't forget, you get a lot, your DNA, what's transferable, plus how you're raised by that DNA, can make some of us really susceptible, more neurotic. There's so many traits that are carried over in a very real biological sense, traits. And then you combine that with the way that those biological beings raise you from their own traits that are already in you. It can make it a lot harder for some of us guys. Okay. I'll lower the compression on the audio. Hopefully that's better, guys. To the Paradise City says, if a woman asks me what I do for a living, I will ask her credit report. Remember, highlight your questions, guys. JW, do you have thoughts on the Jungian concept of the shadow self, and if so, how do you develop and confront yours? Yeah, I have read a little bit on it. Our friend Quasimandias is probably more versed than I am, but it's basically, realizing that you're capable of bad. You have a bad side as well. You're not perfectly good. I think that's one thing women are hamstrung by. They don't really look at their shadow. They don't realize that they are capable of bad, even though they exhibit those negative traits all the time, and they excuse them. But they've got a mechanism by which they can excuse it for the benefit of themselves, sort of being chosen by men and being able to be taken care of. We don't. But yeah, I think it's very healthy to realize that you do have a shadow. For a lot of you guys, I recommend reading about Jung's concept of the shadow and integrating it and coming to terms with it, realizing you have it's not a bad side. You've got the ability to sort of give to take, to be bad, to be good, to be evil, to be nice. And pretending otherwise, I think, is a lot of men's frustration. I think Jordan Peterson once sort of said it in a way that you have to realize that the person, the general at the concentration camps, who was inflicting pain and suffering on a lot of prisoners, he went back home to his wife, and he may have been a loving father. So to recognize that people aren't just completely bad or completely good, there's a mixture of both. And in terms of you realizing that, you can kind of bring your personality to an equilibrium, lower your stress levels, because then you can frustrate yourself a lot. Why did I do that? Why don't I do this? Because there's often two opposing forces in you that you're not sort of coming to terms with. Armored Ghost, do you think the manosphere is far too negative about women as a group? I don't watch much manosphere content online because it tends to be all very game related. So women are too much of a focus in terms of acquiring them. I have no problem like acknowledging like the differences between men and women, but the negativity is kind of like just the women ain't anything, and women are saying men ain't anything. We're just kind of antagonistic while at the same time attracted to each other. I don't think it's productive. I've no problem men talking about women. Again, men can do what they want. It's not like they need to pass it by me. But I'm saying in terms of what I find interesting and where I see the frustrations lying is men are trying to better themselves by being macho PUA / spinning plates kind of pickup artist guys. That's the strength by which they're kind of putting themselves out into the world. But sort of maintaining that strength, I can see being tiring, that exercise. It's like being at the gym 24/7. You need to rest. And while you're resting, that is, you're just relaxed and being yourself, the kind of person you are when no one's around or your best friend's there, where you can just kind of not have to be, not have to spin plates or, project game or manipulate a woman to stay with you, when you can just like relax and say, look, I'm just going to be myself. I'm not going to try and pull your strings. That's the tiring thing. So much of the manosphere is pickup related in terms of understanding women. It's gotten more intelligent, the pickup side of the manosphere, in terms of like female nature, the dynamics between men and women, but it's still so heavily based on her being the queen and you're nothing but a prince. So that's the disappointing thing for me. Thank you for the super chat, Vampire Hunter. I appreciate it. His question is, 20 years from now, are we looking at supplementing women for AI fembots with today's unfair marriage laws unlikely to change? I think that's where we're going. AI and technology is increasing at an exponential rate. Unless things like the current sort of world crisis is going to slow it down. But I think technology has increased so fast that sort of you kind of look at the speed at which technology is increasing. It's not linear, it's exponential. And it's going to reach that critical point or singularity where I think we're almost there anyway. Like you look at the robots they use for the military. I think I heard somewhere that within 5 to 10 years, we're going to have more robots than actual people in the military. I mean, we've already got drones. They got, you've seen those robotic dogs and robotic soldiers and things like that. So it's pretty safe to assume that you look at the current state of sex dolls and those kind of things, where if women continue their trajectory and men and women continue to do this, we're going to be basically the same species, but very, very separate. We're going to be living separate lives that barely kind of coincide. So I think AI and fembots and things like that will increase if things don't course correct I don't know if this is a course correction, what's happening recently, or if it's just a slowing down. PJ says, would you describe the family unit as a form of a cult? Now it's starting to become like that. It's a shame because I think, not that, again, I've told you my thoughts on, like, I've never been one that wanted to get married or have children. But I think for the vast majority of guys that just love their football team, love cars and love sex and sitting on a couch with a can of beer, that's the extent of their life. They don't desire anything else. Most of us are like that as guys. We're in the middle of that bell curve. So, and a lot of those guys benefit from the boundaries that religion and social sort of social boundaries in terms of form of religion used to give us. Those kind of real simple guys, I don't need much. I need my football team, my car, and my woman and sex, and that's it, and I've got my kids. But for those of us who want more, what's in the world today is interesting, and there's a lot more, say, for me to do and explore and so forth. But for the vast majority of guys, philosophy, being interested in developing your own is hard work, and there's not very much of an interest. I've got a natural interest in it. I actually like this. I like reading. I like writing. This is kind of a fuel source for me. For those guys, philosophy is like a bad job they don't want to be in. What they want to do is switch their brain off, watch the football team, have sex with a wife, have kids, and spend all their time just providing, protecting, fixing the fence, mowing the lawn, etc. Crusoe says, I think as men we need to support and help each other keep straight in the right direction. Focus on friendships with our fellow men is more important than chasing women or relationships with them. Yeah. I would say guys have lost the skill of maintaining friendships like we once did. And I think a lot of it has to do with sort of the lack of mentorship, more single mums raising men, that just the natural ability of men being together and talking is kind of faded away. And we need to have more of an effort to call our friends and just to talk. How you going? Things like that. So yeah, because women are fading away from men. Wolfgang says, do you value bluntness over tact in human interaction? No, I value tact. But in terms of tact, I won't say something that's not true. I'm not gonna tell a harmful lie to someone just so they don't get hurt. I'll try and convey it in a sympathetic manner, so using tact. But I think even bluntness can be conveyed in a tactful way. Audio is fine. Audio is good. Good. Okay. Get off that. Glad to hear. JW, have you ever felt feelings of lackeyism, i.e., the Breaking Bad Fight Club-esque desire to be struck by disaster that would put a kink in the smooth arc of your life? Yeah, I'm always challenging myself and wanting to... it's that sense of adventure. Not to destroy things. I don't like that. I sense women have more of that nature, where they get bored, they just want to sort of tear the curtains down and smash a relationship like a vase on the ground. I don't. I have an adventurous mind. I'm curious. So I'm always wanting to sort of, oh, that's interesting. Or if someone's got, say, an interesting point of view that's against mine, I find that, oh, attractive as a conversation. So I like, you want to call them struck by disaster that would have put a kink in the smooth arc of your life. I think the refreshing nature of those little moments, not necessarily disasters, but whatever moments surprise you, I think they can be useful. A lot of the times you don't have much choice in it though. But some people willfully look to make bad decisions. You got people impulsively who just do the worst thing, like they keep getting married all the time, or married to strippers, or going out with bad boys, or driving too fast, getting drunk all the time. I think it's a difference between a lack of self-control and impulsiveness, as opposed to sort of a sensible way to keep yourself interested in life. So I think I'm more the latter. JW says, audio is not humans' issue, guys. Figure it out, and quick interrupting his thoughts. Yeah. I won't talk about it anymore. Yeah. Leave a like, guys. Get those likes up. I've been putting a fair bit of effort into my channel for the last couple of months, trying to sort of get my videos out to guys, get people more involved, get the conversation out there, guys talking rather than it being buried. So whatever you can do to help, if you feel like it, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, make sure you got the bell icon selected as well. Armored Ghost. What is the human way through life? I have no idea, man. Can't you tell? I'm making these videos and talking with you. I'm trying to figure my own life out, as well as hopefully you guys get something from it and you figure your own. I think, as was mentioned previously, the male discussion is something that's sorely lacking, and without men getting in touch with sort of the old values of honor, respect, trust between men, because a lot of men don't trust each other. I mean, we don't trust women, and it's easy to see why, because men and women are so different, but we also now don't trust other men, but we still cleave to women because of biology. I think it's dangerous. Men need to, foster communication and sharing of information and being civilized, because the world is going backwards. Mr. Highway, what are your thoughts on men who think they can wait women out? No, I think it's ridiculous. So did you. I think it's ridiculous. As messed up as the dating market is, women like things this way. I say, just let it go, move on, man. Exactly. I concur. This notion men think that I'll wait it out, like a kid there holding his breath, they'll be sorry, they'll be knocking on my door. They won't. Trust me, guys. Women my age, I'm approaching 50. Women my age have probably been with chads, they're single mums, they've had a couple of marriages, or if they've had long marriages, they've come to this stage now, they just want to have a bit of fun. They don't want to get married. So they care less about coming to me and saying sorry. They don't care. It's exactly the opposite, gentlemen. Women have the sexual power. They can have anyone they want. And even at this age, women my age, as long as they're not gross and overweight and ugly, they still get a lot more attention. They can get a lot more out of the opposite sex than I can. So it's men's fantasy of women knocking on their doors with, tears and mascara running down their eyes saying, I'm sorry, take me back. Not going to happen. Never going to happen. Women don't feel guilt. And the ability that they don't like shame means that they're not going to say sorry. Stop waiting, guys. Get on with your life. Have good relationships with other men. to the degree to which you want to interact with women, hold them to a good standard. Anything below that, don't be around them for your own sake. But stop waiting for women. You're wasting your life, gentlemen. What microphone am I using? It's a good microphone. And again, I think if people can't hear me, it's not the microphone, it's you. The microphone I'm using is a Rode Pod mic. Last time I was using a Samsung Q2U, which I think I prefer the Samsung Q2U. This is a little bit clearer though. The Samsung gives you more of a radio voice. What motivates me? You mentioned before about writing. Do you live for your hobbies, or is there something else? Generally, yeah, my hobbies and interests are the main foundation of what I look forward to doing every day. I know for myself, I'm a big human doing. I'm very creatively productive. I get a lot out of it. If I sit around doing nothing, I don't like that feeling. I feel like I'm wasting away. But again, that's just me. Mr. 305 Max says you have to love your shadow to accept your shadow. Yep. Wayward Son, human props to you. Appreciate your work. Your very first audio clips. Since your very first audio clips. Thank you, man. Army Parrot says, I think we create the traumas of our past with our partners and work. A lot happens in the unconscious. A lot happens in the unconscious, but I don't think we create all of our traumas. A lot of them are subjected to us when we're children. In fact, I think a lot of the problems we face, when you kind of have your own peculiar issues, say with relationships or women or anger, or you get ticked off really quickly about a certain thing, but you notice other people aren't, and you think, what's wrong with me? I think it's a combination of DNA, what you got from your parents, how you were raised, and what you experienced as a child. So some of those, not some, a great deal are baked into you. And the friction you have in life compared to other people that you see, they don't seem to have your problems in relating to others and relationships come from that. So I don't think we create the traumas ourselves. The traumas do impact on us. It's the task then of coming to terms with it. Yorian says that all this MGTOW stuff is just a deep cost-benefit analysis. It's a no-win situation for both sexes. Yeah. It is at its heart. It's like men are very cost-benefit based, and I think given the sexual mating climate at the moment, it's just so obvious and so overt. There's no kind of civility like there used to be. Yeah, men and women were always generally the same, and they still are, but the way we conducted ourselves, we held our worst natures back, more or less. Socially, there were lines you shouldn't cross. You'd be shamed if you did. You'd be put in prison at worst. Now it's kind of like, no, let's... it's not a good way to conduct ourselves and not a good way to raise children. In this environment, you do whatever you want because us as adults, we're too lazy to even conduct ourselves well with each other. Christopher says, I disagree. Game and PUA is an exercise in behaviours, not putting women on a pedestal. They do talk a lot about stuff that's important, but they do put women on a pedestal. The target in PUA is women. That's a goal. That is the biggest goal in women for sort of game theory. So you can't say that it's not putting women on a pedestal. Everything is about what women think, how to get a woman, how to push her buttons, how to spin plates. yeah, they talk about success and money and so forth. But if you took women out of the picture, how many men would be interested in building a business and a flashy car and so forth? There would be some, but I'd say the majority wouldn't kind of care. Quasimandias says, listening in, the best Jungian authority in the world is Peter Kingsley, who has the ability to fill one in on Jung far beyond Peterson. Ahem. I recommend, I can't pronounce it, man, CATAFALGU as a place to start. There you go. I knew Quasimandias would know more than I do about the shadow. Again, I'm fairly widely read. I graze a lot in terms of my reading and writing. I don't have a very specific discipline on one author or one corner of literature. Is that a good or bad thing? I don't know. What set of furniture defines human as a person? Functional. But I'm also a designer, so I like things to look probably Scandinavian design. Simple, modern, functional. Okay, let me just go through the questions of because there's a fair few here. Got about 150 people on board. I'm going to have another Q&A in about 8 hours, 7 hours tonight for those people on the other side of the planet. Anyone who can make it, you're more than welcome to come in again. Genesis says, human, are you familiar with Sam Hyde, $1 Million Extreme, pretty funny content and very red-pilled. It's worth checking out. No, never heard of it. I may keep it in mind. You guys watch a lot. I don't watch as much as some of you guys might. I don't watch. I don't think I watch TV at all. I look at movies, but I only watch TV when I'm visiting someone's house. And because I've been in lockdown, I haven't watched any television at all. AOS logs, why haven't you wanted to get married? Is it due to gynocentrism, female nature? I've never had the desire. The state of the world just makes it easy. I found over time I don't really need to explain why. Most guys out there are red-pilled just because of the state of men and women and the politics out there. Thanks for the super chat, Mr. Highway. I appreciate it. JW, have you seen Louis C.K.'s interview about his ungrateful ex-wife? No, I should actually check that out. I've heard about it. Christopher, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self? Be more honest. Be more honest. Reduce your fear. Reduce your fear and everything becomes easier. Rationally reduce your fear. Learn, give yourself permission to say what you want, speak better, don't be afraid. Everything works itself out from there. More courage. Yeah, Army Parrot, is there a key to happy life? Letting go of your ego, knowing that tick, 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 death is coming. Yeah, it's similar to what I just mentioned. Any way you can rationally reduce your fear, have a better internal dialogue, and be able to convey that. Again, I told you, like reading and writing has helped me, especially when you can see it on paper. You can see how you speak to yourself. You can see the deficiencies in your language, how scared you are sometimes on paper, because when you're just kind of observing and you're a sponge to the world, you don't actually realize how much you're not actually giving to the world, like how much you're not talking, how much you're not engaging. So I always encourage you guys to read and write. You'll get to know yourself a lot better. especially if you're having frustrations. Glenn says, where did I get my glasses? I think I just ordered them online. They're just cheap. They're about $25, $30 with lenses. I just wanted something for the computer. JW, do you have any desire to be in another long-term relationship? If you did, how would you look ideally but realistically? I am open to it, but I can take it or leave it. So I'm no longer a hunter. I've no interest in, again, I'm no interest in sort of spending my life hunting. But again, you have to realize that if you don't hunt, women don't care. I'm looking for a really good friend I find attractive, and I know the chances of that are very, very low, but that's okay, because then I kind of know the reality of it. Well, then I'm off the hook. There's no pressure. I can see the reality of it, given what I realistically and rationally want and what fits in with my life. I'm not looking to get married. I don't sort of need a space in me filled by a woman. I want a companion that's level-headed, but I'm not going to kill myself to search for Bigfoot either. I'm just going to live my life, be as open as I can, try and do the things I want to do and live the way I want to live. And if she sort of crosses my path, or if I feel like reaching out here and there in terms of dating, I will. But I just don't have the desire I did 20 years ago. Hey, human, I own a little panoramic hotel in the Caribbean. If you ever want to take a vacation with your girl or stay long-term for meditating, it's up in the mountains. Ooh. Thanks, man. That sounds very attractive. Maybe me and Quasimandias can sail on down and spend a weekend. When I look back, the vacations I've spent with the guys and vacations I've spent with my ex-girlfriends, the vacations I've spent with my male friends in the past are always memorable. The majority of ones I spent with women were okay or just nightmares. I swear, if I was gay, life would be so much easier. Stefan asked an interesting question. Do you go back and listen to your old stuff? Are there any views you express that you would feel differently about? I don't go back and listen to my old stuff. I turn the volume up on my opinions. I don't disagree with anything I said, but I got a lot off my chest, and for entertainment value, but also to get my point across, because I wasn't showing my face, to sort of make it clearer, because I wasn't talking to you, to sort of force the point through. I did turn the volume up, but I don't necessarily think any differently. Just I sort of tempered, and I've obviously grown as well, but I don't disagree really. I might have adjusted and adjusted certain opinions, but I haven't actually flipped on anything. I don't think. But I have grown. Okay, we've been going for an hour, guys. We might start wrapping it up. Nice, short, meaty one. And again, I'll be doing another live stream in about 7 hours. Or 6 hours. What's GTU says, Human, what are your favorite books? I've put down a few on my blog on the right-hand side in the column. So have a look there, because a few people asked me. Yeah, I haven't looked at Stardusk's newest video where he interviews a gay guy. I have a feeling I know which it may be. But yeah, it's one I've got on my to watch list. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. Short and sweet. Thanks for the questions, and I'll do another one in about 6 or 7 hours. If you can join me, I'll see you then. Thanks for chiming in, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.